Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're all doing really well out there today. In the last video that I released here on the channel, we took a look at how to set up .local domains so that you can access your Homelab without using IP addresses and ports and that sort of thing. We talked about some of the possible issues with using a .local domain with conflicts with MDNS and that sort of thing. That said, a lot of people said other input on the method that I used and some of the impracticalities of deploying a root.cert file, that sort of thing. So I want to thank you guys for leaving those comments and kind of calling me out on how impractical that kind of was. I also want to thank the people who subscribed and watched that video just across the board. It really means a lot after not having released a video for a couple of weeks to have a video so well received. So thank you guys so much for all of that. Super appreciate the new subscribers and the feedback that I got as far as what was good and what was bad about what I did. But since then, I've taken the advice of some of those comments and have a new setup that actually uses a domain that I purchased and a DNS challenge to get a certificate on my local Homelab. And that's what we're going to take a look at in today's video. I want to show you what I've currently got set up and actually how easy it is to set up an actual domain with a DNS challenged SSL. So let's jump over to my desktop and take a look at what I've got, and then I'll show you how easy it is to set it up. Okay, so here we are on my desktop, and here we're taking a look at my instance of Nginx Proxy Manager. We can see that I'm actually accessing that at npm.dbtech.app. I managed to get dbtech.app for like $8 over on Porkbun. Like, they're not sponsoring this, but they've got great prices on domains, and we're going to use another domain that I purchased from them for a couple of bucks in this video when I do my little demonstration later on. But again, I'm using npm.dbtech.app to access Nginx Proxy Manager. And if I come over to my proxied hosts, here we can see a list of all of the different things that I'm currently proxying with my dbtech.app domain. If we want to take a look at like AdGuard1 and AdGuard2 and Dockhand, we can see that these actually loaded really fast. That was one of the things that people talked about in that video that we released last time with the local domains, as far as how they kind of loaded slowly. And that's not an issue here. Like these all just load super, super fast now. And I'm actually really glad that I took your guys' advice and set this up, because I'm actually happier with this than I was with that. So, but here again, we can see how all of these are up and running. And if we come over to here, we can see the connection is secure. The certificate is valid, and it is it was released by Let's Encrypt. And it is good until October 6th. And we'll talk about renewals later on when we get into actually generating the SSL. But I just kind of wanted to show that everything's working really well. Everything loads really fast, and I'm super, super happy with that. And what's really cool about this is if you try to go to get.dbtech.app, you're not going to get anywhere. And if you ping get.dbtech.app, well, I'll just show you what happens there. So we're going to do ping get.dbtech.app. Hey, look, that is a local IP address. So that's what happens if anybody tries to ping my domains. They just get this local 192.168 IP address, and I love that as well. So you can't even try to get my information to DDoS me if you've got this information. Like, it's very secure, it's very local, and it just works really, really well. And that's the demonstration, right? It's just that simple as far as, hey, it works. So now let's jump over and take a look at actually how easy it is to configure this. We're going to start from scratch. We're going to set this up on a new domain. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so here we are over on Cloudflare. I like to use Cloudflare. If you don't, that's fine. Nginx Proxy Manager actually supports a huge amount of different DNS providers. Let's actually jump over to this real quick so we can take a look at that. So if we go over to add a certificate, again, in Nginx Proxy Manager, you can probably do this in traffic as well, though I'm not versed in traffic, so I can't help you there. So we're going to go to add certificate, and then then we're going to click on Let's Encrypt with DNS. Right, and then we'll add a domain here in a minute. We'll get to that. But if we click on DNS provider, there's a bunch of them here that you can select from. Again, we're going to use Cloudflare for this. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to find Cloudflare right there. Eventually, we're going to generate a token. We're going to need that in order to get this to work. But again, there's a huge number of different providers here that you can select from. So maybe the provider that you're using for your DNS or your domains is already in this list. And if it is, you should be good to go. Just each provider will have its own set of criteria, whether it's a username, a password, or a username, an API key, or an API key, or whatever the case may be. You'll just need to figure out what that is for your provider if it's supported by Nginx Proxy Manager. So again, we're going to use this domain right here. This is dbtech.lol. I thought that was funny. So, and I picked it up for like $1.87 or something over here on Porkbun. Again, they're not paying me, or they're not sponsoring this or anything. I've just been buying all of my domains from them for a really long time because they're great to work with. So that's where I bought my domain. And then I took the information that Cloudflare gave me and updated my name servers to point my domain from Porkbun over to Cloudflare so that Cloudflare can manage my DNS and that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to do here, right? Is we're going to use dbtech.lol for this demonstration for local only access to a couple of different services on my setup here. So what we've actually got to do first before we get into this is we need to generate that API key that I mentioned a moment ago. In order to do that, we're going to come up to the top right of the screen where the little icon is, the little person icon, and we're going to go to Profile. Then we're going to go to API Tokens. And then we're going to create a token. We're going to click this blue button right there. And then what we want to do is we're going to find down here where we can either create a custom token or we can use a token template. And that's what we're going to use here. What we're going to do is we're going to use the edit zone DNS. That's the template that we want to use for our API key for this setup. And we're just going to, I'm going to call this tutorial token. That way I remember to delete it before this video goes live. So I don't care if you see my token here. It's fine. It's going to get deleted. So we're going to have tutorial token here. The only thing we need to change in here, we're going to leave the zone DNS the same as edit. That's fine. The zone resources include specific zone. And we're going to go down and we're going to select the domain that we want to control. In this case, it's dbtech.lol. Yours, of course, will be different. Then we're going to continue down here to summary, and we're going to create our token. It's only going to show us this token one time. So be sure that you save it somewhere safe, like a password manager or something like that. Just save it somewhere safe because you're only going to see it this one time. I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to come back to Nginx Proxy Manager. And I'm just going to paste this in here real quick so that it's there and I don't have to think about it again. The next thing I want to do here is actually come up to domain names, and I want to do star. That's going to give us a wildcard. And I'm going to do dbtech.lol like so, and I'm going to hit enter. So now we're going to generate an SSL based on this wildcard domain, this star.dbtech.lol. The key type is fine. The DNS provider is Cloudflare. We've got our API token in there. Again, that's all fine. You don't need to mess with the propagation seconds. That you can just leave that alone. Now, when I click save here, what this is going to do is actually generate a text file or a text entry, a TXT entry over on the DNS for Cloudflare. And basically what it's going to do when I click save here is it's going to create a TXT record here that's got some information in it that it needs to validate that you actually own this domain. So that's all going to kind of happen in the background. What we're going to do is come back over to here and click save. We're going to give this a second. It's going to do its thing in the background. It's going to communicate back and forth with Cloudflare, and there we go. Now we have asterisk or star.dbtech.lol. This is an actual certificate that we have that is not currently being used, but it's going to be here in just a moment. Before we do that, though, and I want to take just a quick second here to talk about renewals, because I know some people will ask about their domain renewing. How will that work? That sort of thing, right? Nginx Proxy Manager is built for this kind of thing. It will automatically renew your domain or your SSL before its actual due date, right? So just to prove that this will update, what I'm going to do is we can see our other domain or our other our other certificates certificate, the one I've already got set up here, will expire October 6th. So let's update that. Let's go ahead and click on renew here. We're going to say it's renewing, please wait. Hey, look, just that easily, it went ahead and renewed that certificate. So we're good to go there. It will automatically do that when it needs to, well in advance of it actually expiring. So there you go. Now let's do something like this. Let's come back over to our hosts. Let's create a proxy host, and let's find let's do MeTube just because, right? Just because we can. So this is going to be on .18 and it's port 8081. I'm just going to grab that because I don't want to type. We're going to add a proxy host. We're going to do MeTube.dbtech.lol and hit enter. We're going to paste that in there. We're going to put in 8081. We're going to say this is publicly accessible because it'll only be publicly accessible on our network. We're also going to do block common exploits, and then we're going to come over to here, and we're going to do dbtech.lol. I always check Force SSL and HTTP2 support, and we're going to click Save. Now, we scroll down to dbtech.lol. This isn't going to work, right? But I want to show it just because. We're going to click there. Hey, look, it doesn't work. And there's a reason for that. There's one more step that we actually need to do. What we need to do is actually come over to our DNS provider, in my case, Cloudflare. We're going to add a record. And we're going to do a star here, like so. Again, that's going to cover all subdomains on dbtech.lol. And then for the IP address, what we're going to do is put in the IP address of our reverse proxy. In this case, this is Nginx Proxy Manager. And I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but it's right here. npm.dbtech.app is pointed to 192.168.0.32. We're going to go ahead and do that. This is DNS only. This is all fine. We're going to click Save. Now, it may take a moment for this to propagate, so we may have to be patient while things kind of load in the background. Let's come back over here and let's push our luck anyway. Let's go to metube.dbtech.lol, and hey, look, just that quickly and easily it did it. Let's do one more, just for the sake of making sure that was not a fluke. Let's do my password manager. We're going to do 192.168.7.97 on port 80. We're going to do pw.dbtech.lol. Again, we're going to paste in that port, that IP address. We're going to put it on that port. We're going to say block common exploits. Our SSL, we're going to select our dbtech.lol. We're going to force that and click there and click Save. Then we're going to go to pw.dbtech.lol, and hey, look, just like that, now we are set up and ready to go. Everything here works locally just fine. Again, if you ping any of those, it's going to come up as just a my Nginx Proxy Manager IP address of 0.32, so you can't access it. But let's prove our point here in just a second. Okay, so there was just a brief cut there so that I could get private internet access installed, and so that we could take a look at what it's like to access these different sites that I've created from outside what is actually my network. So we're going to use a VPN to replicate that. Currently, we have allow LAN traffic on, so if I come over here, then we can still access all of this stuff, right? But if we come back over here and turn LAN traffic off, and then refresh, hey, look, they go away immediately, which just goes to prove that this is this is local only access, and nobody outside your network or without access to your network can access your sites on a domain with an SSL internally on your network. Okay, guys, so there you go. There's what I guess what a lot of people in the comments on the last video might consider the right way to set up a domain with an SSL on your local network to access your services without IP addresses, without ports, without HTTPS errors for local or for self-signed certs and that sort of thing. This is a much simpler method in my opinion. So thank you guys for pointing me in this direction. It was definitely an eye-opener. And while the other situation wasn't necessarily wrong, this is actually just a little better. So I want to thank you guys for pointing me in this direction. If you've got questions or comments or anything like that, please leave those down in the comment section down below. I want to thank you guys for spending a few minutes of your day with me here today, and I'll talk to you in the next video.